Welcome back to episode 2 of my Piperine extraction. Today we are going to start with the first batch. You can see that most of the Piperine, crude Piperine, has settled down, and we are going to pour off the wastewater, and afterwards we are going to perform a vacuum filtration. So let's start. Vacuum filtration was kind of too slow, so I decided to pour all of this through a piece of cloth. This will have a great impact on our yields, but at this moment I didn't care anymore. Our yields was already destined to be low. In the end, we were left with some stuff that looked like this. So we put it onto another piece of cloth and left it to dry. Although for some strange reason this batch looks quite differently, we should be able to perform exactly the same procedure. You might have wondered why there's less water in there, and well, let me explain. That's because I tried to dump some of it out because the Piperine has settled and all of this was way too hard to carry because water leaked when you shook the beaker a little bit, but yeah, I got it. So let's just pour it into our makeshift filter. After filtering, batch number 2 looked like this. I am going to put both of them outside in the sun to dry, and we are going to come back in half an hour. Half an hour later, using a food grade spatula, the batches were combined into a large beaker. We ended up with something like this. It actually looks like it's not really much, and I can already guarantee you that the yield of this extraction is going to be really poor. On a hot plate, the crude Piperine was dissolved in as little isopropanol as possible. I ended up using too much of isopropanol, therefore some of it was boiled off. The beaker was then taken off the hot plate and we put it into a freezer. A gravity filtration was performed. The filter paper was transferred onto a piece of cloth and we opened it up. Everything you can see here should be somewhat clear Piperine, and we are going to put this out in the sun to dry. While it is drying, you can now have a look at the pepper that we extracted the Piperine from, and we are going to think about what went wrong in this extraction, because black pepper contains 5 to 10% of Piperine, and what we got looks like barely a gram. So what went wrong? We used sodium hydroxide instead of potassium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is poorly soluble in isopropanol, whereas potassium hydroxide is. The reason we are adding the hydroxide is that the hydroxide precipitates out the fats and unwanted products. We used sodium hydroxide, it didn't dissolve very well, so I used water, and maybe this was the reason we fucked up. Also, in our Soxhlet extractor, you normally use some sort of cellulose glove to put in your contents to make it more efficient. I packed it all the way down, and this led to not 100% of extraction efficiency. When the Soxhlet filled up, it didn't actually suck all of the solvent out when it reached the top of the siphon. We are going to perform this extraction another time in the future, but for now all of this should do the trick. It doesn't look like much, but we ended up with 1.2 grams of piperine. This isn't much for an extraction like this. Black pepper, as I said, contains 5 to 10% of piperine, which would mean that we would get 9 to 18 grams based on the pepper consumed. If you like this video, I would still appreciate if you give me one of these and consider subscribing to my channel for more stuff like this in the future. I am going to do this extraction again because I am not happy with the results, and I'll get some potassium hydroxide to get the most out of it. Until then, I wish all of you a great day. Bye.